Hello everyone. After I put up my last video regarding attachment, someone I know a little bit messaged me separately and asked me two very, very important questions. The first question she asked me was, am I attached to the fees that I charge my clients as a Reiki healer? And two, what is really selfless service? And I found these questions so important. Of course, I answered her. But I found them so important that I thought I should make a video on this. And if you haven't seen my last video on attachment, I do suggest that you see this either before you see this video or after you see this video. Don't miss that one. So let's go to that first question that she asked me. Am I attached to the money that I am charging, to the fees that I am charging my clients? The honest answer is I don't know that. None of us can presume to know that about someone else. Whether a person is attached to an object or a subject, only they will know the answer to that. I won't know and you won't know. I will know only what I am attached to, and you will know only what you are attached to. So we cannot presume to pass that judgment, even if we are asked for our opinion. We cannot presume to pass that judgment upon another. And so this is what I told her. I said, you have the answer to this question. But if you are kind of getting confused about the monetary reward, let me explain this further. There are two reasons why anyone does any kind of work, any kind of service. One is to make money. And the other reason is to give a service. And to be honest, in our material world, in the world of human beings, both these aspects will exist in all our actions, in all our tasks, in all the work that we do. The degree is what defines it as attachment to money or not. And here again, I have to clarify this. Till you and I reach that ideal state where we are completely free of all attachment to this material world, you and I are not going to be completely free of attachment to our financial well-being. We are not. We are human beings, and that part is going to remain within us. We hope it's not going to be our primary focus in life. And that is where this question needs, her question needs further clarification. If she, you, I, if we do whatever it is that we're doing, whether we are healers, counselors, mentors, mediums, lawyers, doctors, analysts, computer scientists, whoever we are, if we are doing what we do with the primary, main, or only focus being making money, then our work is coming from a space of huge attachment to gratification of our senses, gratification of our ego. If, on the other hand, yes, of course, money is the happy result that we would enjoy, but our prime focus, our main focus, is upon the service that we give, upon the quality of service that we give, then our attachment to the ego gratification is of course present, because the material aspects still exist, but it is not as deep as in the first example. There is another side of this money aspect that JadeFire has spoken about on many occasions. And he says that in this world, in this human world, very, very often money plays the role of being the easiest source of energy exchange. Now, let me explain that. There is a very, very profound universal truth. For the universe to remain in a state of balance, what I give must be replaced with what I receive. If I have given you something, then you give me something in return, and you remain in balance energetically, and I remain in balance energetically. So money sometimes, in fact very often, takes that role of being the easiest, simplest, most convenient form of energy exchange. Can you imagine? Otherwise, how would a doctor be paid by thousands of his patients, or a lawyer? What would they give him? Vegetables, grape, eggs? What would they give him or her? Money is important till we reach that ideal state of, and we shall, each one of us shall reach that ultimate state of spiritual advancement, of spiritual evolution, where the material will have less and less and less, and then no hold over us. And haven't you found that happening to you over the years? Even maybe 30 years ago, 40 years ago, what you thought was so important materially, today really does not have that value for you at all. So you can actually become aware of your journey. So that looks after the first question, money. Now coming to the second, what is selfless service? Selfless service is not limited to money or the fees you charge or the price you ask for. Selfless service goes way beyond that, way beyond that. Selfless service is a service that is entirely or significantly devoid of the ego self. If I serve you, if I do something for you, with the need to gain your approval, with the need to gain your love, your trust, your praise, with the need to make money, with the need to become famous, any of these things or more, then the work that I do, the service that I offer, is shrouded in the ego. And because it's shrouded in the ego self, it is not selfless. Because the ego self is such a big part of the service that you're giving. In fact, the service that you're giving has less to do with you and more to do with my ego self. So you can understand that selfless service is about the shroud of the ego self being as thin as it possibly can. And as I said, as we evolve from one stage of advancement to another, the shroud shall become thinner and thinner. And again, only you know how thick that shroud is. And sometimes in a certain area, in some tasks that you do, your shroud might be thicker. And in other areas, in other work that you do, the shroud might be thinner. And these paradoxes exist for all of us. But for it to be selfless service, the ego self needs to be absent. Of course, the ideal is that it should be entirely absent. But let us endeavor towards that ultimate. Every day, in everything that we do, let us become aware of how thick or how thin this ego shroud is, how deeply the ego self is entering that picture. And let's really take the actions to make these changes. And that's an important place now to go to. For us to change, for us to transform, we must become aware of our egocentric nature. A service that you give someone has to be free of desire, has to be free of need, has to be free of greed, and has to be free of judgment. Very important. Has to be free from judgment. I know you understand the need and greed part, but let's look at judgment a little more. If you are the kind of person who is quick to judge, and again, only you can really know that answer. No one else can give you that answer. If you are quick to judge others, if you're quick to judge a few kind of people, you have to understand one aspect of yourself. The ego self does not restrict itself to certain boxes in your life. It's an all-pervading self. And each time there is a selfish desire, there is a hidden agenda, there is a lust, a greed, a need, a judgment, what you are doing is you're taking a large handful of muck and throwing it very deliberately into your clear crystal stream of spiritual consciousness. You are sullying, dirtying that stream. No one else is doing it. You may judge XYZ as corrupt and dishonest and cruel and murderous and whatever judgments you make. But remember, that judgment is not hurting, hindering that person at all. But it is most certainly not helping your spiritual advancement. It is most certainly hindering your spiritual advancement. And who is responsible? Who has taken up the mark? You, not that person. That person is doing and creating their karma. But by judging, what you're doing is creating yours. So how are you in a better position than them? And if you're not in a better position, then how are you in a position to judge? And if you're not really in a position to judge, why are you doing something so foolish as thickening the shroud of ego around you and ensuring that your service is not selfless? You may judge someone who is exceedingly wealthy as being dishonest, as being cruel, as being greedy, whatever. Again, that person uses the money energy in whatever way they desire, which creates their karma. How are you so 100% certain that you have never created that kind of karma? That you have never done those actions or similar ones? You may be absolutely certain that you have not done those actions in this incarnation. I grant you that. But you and I both know that these set of clothes are just that, a set of clothes. Our journey is uninterrupted. Our spiritual evolutionary journey is uninterrupted. So how are you so certain that at some point in that past, you have not taken these similar actions? Have you in fact considered this? Maybe you have taken those similar actions, and there is still a level of guilt inside of you which you're not aware of. And when you are seeing the actions of this other person, you are being triggered. Therefore, you're judging that person and thickening your ego self shroud and lessening your selfless service. So, taking the right action is the important next step. For any transformation, your action is what is important. You may read several inspiring books. You may listen to spiritual teachers, inspirational channelings, all of that. But if these words that you hear, if these words that you read do not translate into action that you take, no one else can take that action that you take. If they don't translate into action from you, then those words are not really material for you. Because if they are not translating into action, it means that you do not have the will to change. You're only deceiving yourself, making yourself believe that you wish to advance spiritually, swiftly. Because you don't really wish to advance spiritually, swiftly. Because if you did, you would find the will in you to change and you would change. But if day after day, month after month, year after year, you are caught in your lust, in your greed, in your desires, in your needs, in your judgments, then it is very clear that you do not have the will to take the right action. Wisdom is superior to everything. I grant you that. Wisdom is superior to everything. It brings you, it lifts you out of the mire of ignorance. But what you do with that wisdom is important, because wisdom without the will to take action, wisdom without the right action is incomplete. It's like you have read only part of the book. You don't really know how the book will end, because you are not taking the responsibility of turning the page. Sometimes clients tell me, El, can I not just do EFT? Can I not just do Ho'oponopono? Can you not give me some chance that I can do in or here, and then I'll be rid of this? No. The EFT shall work. The Ho'oponopono shall work. The mantras shall work. The switch words shall work, only if you take the right action. They cannot work otherwise. When you were in school, and maybe your mom, your dad, an older sibling, maybe a tutor helped you with a certain subject or subjects, and they helped you to learn those subjects. They gave you the knowledge. But who eventually gave the examination or the test? Did your parents do that? Did your sibling give the examination? Did the tutor go into the hall and give the test for you? No. You had to take that action. And this is just as true. The mantras, the switch words, the prayers, EFT, Ho'oponopono, any other thing that you do, anything else, they're all equally good and equally significant. Opens up portals for you, portals of wisdom, portals of awareness, portals of insight, portals of consciousness. But that is all they can do for you. They cannot take even one step for you in your spiritual advancement, and I'd like to reiterate that here. They cannot take even one step for you in your spiritual advancement. You may be following and you may be a disciple of the most wondrous spiritual master this world has to offer. But even that master cannot take a step for you. That master can light a torch upon the path. And that torch might be brilliant or it might be dim. Again, depending upon the master's advancement. But it's only a torch that the master can light. The master cannot take that step for you. You have to take the step. So the will to take the right action is what determines the action. And the right action for me may certainly not be the right action for you. So don't attempt to ape someone else. Yes, if you respect that person, if you admire that person, you may be motivated by that person to try what that person is doing for themselves. Perfect. Try it. And if it works for you, that's lovely. But if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't mean that there's something deficient in you. It just means that that action is not in alignment with you, is in alignment with whoever suggested it to you. So try another action. But don't stop till you have found something that works for you. And I promise you, you shall. You shall find it. And then continue to take that action till that ego shroud has become as thin as it possibly can. And your service is as selfless as it can be. It is only then that you can perform your duty without arrogance. I know that you have heard as many times as I have heard this statement, I am not the doer. What does this mean? What does this mean? I am not the doer. It means that there are two aspects of this I. The statement starts with this very, very important word, I. So who is this I? There are two I's here. One I is the I that is a mingling of divinity and humanness. Humanness is the ego shroud, ego self. And the other I is the I that is 100% divinity. There is not an element of the human ego self, not an iota. Now that 100% divinity you may call God, you may call soul, you may call your higher self, you may give it the name of a deity or a prophet, entirely up to you. It's all good. In every action, there are these two I's that coexist simultaneously. One I you can see very clear, and that is this I. Because this physicality and divinity is mingling together, the physicality helps you to see this I very, very clearly. The other I is 100% divinity without an iota of the physicality of the humanness. And so we can't see it. We can't see it with these eyes. It needs this to see. This eye, the one that is mingled with physicality, is the doer of the action. And this eye, that is 100% divinity, is the doer of the result. I want you to hear that again. One eye is the doer of the action. The other eye is the doer of the result of the action. Let's take an example. I am driving along a mountain road, and there are many twists and turns. I am behind the wheel. I am driving the car. I am the doer of the action. I am the driver. There is no argument about that, right? I am seated, very physically seated, strapped in with my seatbelt, holding the steering wheel and driving the car. Ahead of me is a right turn. The road bends to the right, and I can't see beyond that bend because I don't have X-ray vision. Remember, I said the two eyes coexist. The 100% divinity knows and sees the complete vista, the complete panorama, because that eye is not restricted by physicality. And so it knows exactly what lies beyond that bend. The result shall be determined by that eye. And the result, please hear this well, and the result shall be only what is best for you in this moment of now for your spiritual advancement. Whatever is the result. And this is so difficult for you and I to really get, to really understand. Our right actions are determined not only by our will, but by our desires, by our need for gratification, by our attachments, by our judgments, as we have seen, but also by our value systems. JadeFire says, your value system can neither be judged as right or wrong. It is appropriate for you. That's all it is. He's told me very often, if you had not chosen to be born in this timeline, but if you had chosen to be born in the 1300s, the 1600s, the values you hold today would be entirely different from the values held at that time by a large part of that society. And your values that you would have held in that timeline would have been appropriate for that timeline, but would not have been appropriate for this timeline. And that's all it is. Our value systems are appropriate for us. So we cannot impose, thrust our value systems onto anyone else. Even for children, he says, your children will learn of your value systems by the way you live, not by what you teach them in words. No child learns by what you teach them in words. Every child learns only by what they see and experience. So they will learn of your value systems by what they see of your behavior, your attitude, your actions, your reactions, and so forth. From that, they will create their own value systems, which may be similar to yours, partly similar to yours, or not at all similar to yours. Even though they are your children, you cannot thrust or impose your value system upon them. The moment you try, JF says, the moment you try to impose your value system upon another, you falsify your own value system. It becomes a false value system. If you have a true value system, neither right nor wrong, but a true value system, an authentic value system, you shall not impose it upon another, and you shall not judge another by the yardstick of your value system. So important for me. I often find myself falling into this trap, judging another by the yardstick of my value system. Pull myself out of that. I realize that I have taken a handful of muck and thrown it into my clear crystal stream of consciousness. So our value systems, our false value systems, also determine the action that we can take or that we don't take. And then those actions determine whether we have enriched our spiritual journey or hindered it. If we have taken actions that can harm others or that have an intention to cause harm to others, or have judged others, or have come from a space of attachment or need for gratification, need for validation, these are not actions that can be considered in the universal sense of the word as right action. Right action is the only action that leads to spiritual advancement. And the more you advance spiritually, the greater degree of selflessness enters into your service. And then whether you charge for it or you don't charge for it, you will not come from a space of ego. You will not come from a false value system. You will not come from a corrupted belief system. It will come from authenticity, not from an egocentric place. I hope my sharing today has helped you a little bit in furthering your understanding. I wish you well in your spiritual journey. I share with you my energy so that your steps can be strong and sure and certain, and that your service can be selfless, each day getting more selfless, and that you love yourself more than I ever could love you. that you love yourself more than anyone ever could love you, that you love yourself as deeply as only you can love yourself. Big hug.